Yeah. Yeah, and you'll take attendance, you guys, anyway. So, Terry, I'm gonna hand it over to you. Okay.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. Sounds like we got a full house. Let's call the meeting to order, and then I believe we need to take roll for the commissioners. So I guess we're in order. Let's, I don't know that I have a list of, does anyone have a list of who all?
I do, if you like.
If you could, yeah.
Okay, I'll read them and I'll keep roll, but your secretary's taking roll as well, right? Herb, are you taking notes? Yeah. Okay. Then first on the list is Terry Wise.
I am here, at least partially, yes.
Giovanni Vendetti.
I'm here.
Awesome. Herb Bickle. I see him. Herb, are you there? Yeah. We just want to hear from him. How come we're not hearing from you, Herb? All right, well, we'll move on because Herb is there. How about Dan Haire? I saw you, Dan.
Here.
Okay. Gina Bua.
Here.
Michael Allen? No, Michael? Okay. Dwight Otis.
Here.
I saw you. And Gary Gubser? Is it Gubser or Goopser?
Gubser.
Gary Gubser. Okay, and you're here. 2, 4, 6, as well as Herb. Herb, are you there now? Can you hear us? I see Herb on the screen, so I'm assuming he's here. So I'm going to put him down. So we have 7 tonight out of 8. We definitely have a quorum. So back to you, Terry.
Okay. Now that we've called roll and we're to order, then I guess I'm going to turn it over to Adonis so that you can present the first case.
Okay, very good. So I'd like to, welcome everyone to tonight's Mid-County Advisory Commission meeting. I'd like to thank the commissioners for your time and your work, as well as for the public to spend a little time with us tonight to talk about a couple of projects. My project, the first of 2 tonight, is a conditional use permit for a project known as Bridge 34th Avenue. So before I proceed, I want to make sure, can everybody see my PowerPoint? Can you see the mouse?
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay. So this project, I try to keep my PowerPoints relatively, well, on the shorter side. This project literally being as big as it is in scale warrants just a slightly longer or larger PowerPoint, if you will. So here we go. So tonight's project proposal is to construct an approximate 205,095 square foot industrial building to be used as a warehouse or for intermediate manufacturing on a 13.5 acre, 6 parcel project site in the community employment zone classification in the Mid-County Community Plan area. So that's not very descriptive, but it gives you a sense of the size of 13.5 acres and a 205,000 square foot warehouse building. Okay, so a short history, because I want to go over this because this project has almost like two histories, if you will. So applications for a site development permit, staff review of a wetland analysis report, State Environmental Policy Act, that's what SEPA is, the State Environmental Policy Act environmental review, and a conditional use permit application were submitted on January the 21st of this year. January the 21st. The proposal was to construct an approximate 132,000 square foot industrial building on 6.6 acres and only 3 parcels. The project site was entirely on the east side of 34th. The notice of application was distributed on February the 1st. I did a site visit. Comments were received by the county, but then the applicant determined that they needed to enlarge the size of the building. They purchased 3 more parcels on the west side of 34th. And the proposal was amended to increase the size of the industrial building by 77% to 205,000 square feet. New permit applications for a new conditional use permit and environmental review with new fees were submitted on June the 21st. And I'll just briefly go over this because you probably rarely see this modification of applications. And then we sent out the revised NOA on June the 30th of 2021. And here we are, July, August, just 2 months later. Okay, so just to show you that this section, there's a section that exists that, and it exists because this scenario has come up before where we scratched our heads, what are we supposed to do when somebody changes their project while everyone's reviewing it? So this code, which is in Title 18, it's called Modification of Applications. And just basically what it says, if you modify an application, it may require revised public notice and additional fees. We have these, if it exceeds any of the following, and there are 3, then you have to submit new applications and new fees. Perimeter boundary of the project site is expanded by more than 5%. Well, gosh, they expanded it by over 100%. Square footage was expanded by more than 25%. Yep, 77%. And then there's way more hard surface. So basically, it exceeded any one or more of them. They had to submit new conditional use permit application, new SEPA, and new fees, and then hence the new NOA on June the 21st. So there was a little confusion about, what's going on? Why did we get this NOA? Why did we get notice about a land use advisory commission meeting that was later canceled? So now we're at the 6 parcel project site. And this is the larger scale view. Of course, there's, 512. Here are the 6 parcels. Here's 34th. Here's 1/12. Just a closer shot, to show you again what it looks like at the dead, got a dead end road. This is the east side, this is the west side. These are the 3 parcels that were added to the project. And what we're going to see is a building that's proposed to go all the way across 34th. So they're going to vacate 34th. So in terms of zoning, it's a color-coded map here, but basically these are the parcels right here that constitute the project site, and they are in the community employment. So we're looking at a zone that is not rural separator, which favors single-family homes, farms, that kind of stuff. It's not moderate density single family where maybe you've seen a lot of subdivisions get proposed. This is a zone that is more oriented towards commercial and industrial, even though what we see is nothing like that. We see just a nice, quiet community, if you will, of homes. This is the site plan. This is the site plan. So here's 512, here's 34th. You can see 34th, they're going to have to vacate 34th, and here's the building footprint going across 34th. I'm going to back up for a second and emphasize there's a large subdivision to the east. These folks have every, right to be concerned, if you will, and I want to point out something in our zoning code that exists to try to protect them a little bit from the impact of such a large building. Okay, so zoning, building, a couple more things, architectural building elevation. So if you are in that subdivision to the east, this is what you may see. You won't see any loading bays. This is what you'll see if you live on the south side of the proposal. You will see all these bays for the trucks. Now, these are some photos for those of you that live in the neighborhood. Of course, you know what your neighborhood looks like, but for those of you that don't, you can see this is a very rural road with no sidewalks, no curb gutter. This is the east side. This is the end of 34th and 512 is behind. So just a few photos of this now from the end of 34th, looking south along 34th towards 112th way down here. One more shot, and then last shot, this is the house at the end of the road on the east side of 34th. So a few points about the zoning code. One is that in our zoning code, we have a section that is aimed at sort of protecting, if not protecting, but reducing the impact of a large industrial building on single-family residences. So in our code, it says the minimum setback for an industrial building, associated loading, unloading areas, and outdoor storage from these particular zones or a conforming residential use. That's what we have here, is we have a conforming residential use right there. So what our code says is that the building has to be at least 100 feet away from the property line. So that's quite a setback. The minimum setback on the east side is 100, as well as on the south side, because there are single family residences to the south of the project. Okay, just a little bit more. Now, I don't always include the actual use categories, if you will, but in this case, I think it's worth noting that they are proposing two uses. They're proposing intermediate manufacturing with a total floor area greater than 80,000 square feet. They are also proposing, warehousing, and they are proposing level 3, which is on a lot or combination of lots exceeding 5 acres. So they're proposing two different types of uses, if you will, warehousing and manufacturing. How are those uses allowed in the CE zone? Well, here is the table, the mid-county table. Here is the CE zone. And as we go down, we see intermediate manufacturing, the level 3, the 5 acres or more, it's actually permitted outright. They don't need to go to a public hearing or get a conditional use permit if all they want to do is intermediate manufacturing. Believe it or not, they can just put up a ginormous building without any public scrutiny, if you will, or public notice. But they have also proposed warehousing. Where do we go here? Whoop, backwards. Warehousing is level 3. The intermediate manufacturing is level 4. I apologize for that. So intermediate manufacturing requires a conditional use permit. That's the level 4 with the C. Down here, warehousing, all the levels are permitted. So I think my point is still there, that you can actually build a very large building for warehousing and you don't have to go to a public hearing. But correcting myself, if you want to do intermediate manufacturing and level 4 is over 80,000 square feet, then you have to get a conditional use permit. That is why you are hearing tonight's case, is because they are also proposing intermediate manufacturing, level 4. Okay, so I'm not sure how you distinguish between the warehousing use in a 205,000 square foot building versus intermediate manufacturing in a 2,500 square foot building. We don't know how much of the building will be one or the other or both, but basically the conditional use permit is focused on the use of the building for intermediate manufacturing. Okay, almost done. So just a little bit about 18J, design standards and guidelines. So the proposal, of course, is subject to the countywide design standards, and those include tree conservation, landscape buffers, exterior illumination, and mechanical equipment and outdoor storage screening. That's the stuff usually on top of the roof, which obviously you're not going to see with the typical subdivision, but these large industrial projects have equipment on the roof that can be noisy. The proposal is also subject to sections of the mid-county community plan area, your plan for your community. And there are codes in there which get at building design and placement. You know, you get points for certain types of design to avoid just a boring all concrete building that doesn't have any variety in it, if you will. So the project is subject to that as well. Now, I'm basically done, but I have reviewed the proposal. I performed a site visit. The applicant has not yet submitted a tree conservation plan or a landscape plan. I've asked for those. I also need architectural and site plans that are prepared in accordance with the Mid-County Community Plan. I've asked for those. I haven't received those yet. And then I'm going to go back to my IPR to make one point about that, and that will conclude my presentation. So I do want to say that it does appear that with the submittal of these plans, which are easy to prepare, otherwise the proposal, basically can be consistent or considered to be consistent with the applicable codes and regulations. So let's take a peek just at the IPR real fast. Okay, let's see, IPR. IPR is right there. Okay, so now I'm on page 5 of 12 of my IPR, and maybe like a lot of planners, the PowerPoint kind of mimics the IPR, but I don't do both. I always just do the PowerPoint. So what I wanted to let you know about is, well, what are the county folks thinking or commenting? What's up with the county? So I wanted to say that our development engineering folks, Jeff Kidston, he noted on July the 30th, here, I'll make it a little bigger. He noted on July the 30th that development engineering will provide comments on this application when the traffic impact analysis and conceptual drainage plan have been approved. So I wanted you to know that a traffic study has been submitted, as well as a conceptual drainage plan. There are some regulated wetlands on the property, and that's the next comment. Resource management, Dara Kessler. She determined that there are no fish and wildlife species in habitat conservation areas. What would those be? Streams, White River elk winter range, that kind of stuff. So there's none of that on the property. But there are 2 regulated wetlands and 1 unregulated. The regulated wetlands, however, are category 4 wetlands. Those are the least significant if you know the scheme of 1 through 4. And category 4 wetlands only have a base buffer of 25 feet. And interestingly enough, I think class 4 or category 4 wetlands, if they're small, and that's why one of them is unregulated, if they're small enough, they're just not regulated. They're just the least significant category of wetland, and when they're too small, they're not regulated. But a couple of them are, and they have an adjusted buffer width of 50 feet based on the land use intensity of high. The warehouse being next to those wetlands bumps the buffer up to 50 feet. However, the applicant has submitted a compensatory mitigation plan. What does that mean? What's a compensatory versus a non-compensatory? A non-compensatory mitigation plan is where you're dealing with the buffer. You're going into the buffer and you're mitigating for impacts because you've reduced the width of the buffer. Maybe you want to reduce it from 50 feet down to 25 feet. That's non-compensatory. That's much easier than submitting a compensatory, which is compensating for actually going into the wetland itself, not only getting rid of the buffer, but getting rid of the wetland or doing something to the wetland. So they've submitted a compensatory mitigation plan. And then the Fire Prevention Bureau has concerns about this as well. I don't always understand everything the Fire Prevention Bureau says, but basically they say the building requires a commercial sprinkler building, has to have a second road access. 2 accesses shall be half the overall parcel diagonal length apart, which is approximately 700 feet. If you're unable to provide a second access, approval of an alternate methods or materials is required. So that's the comment from fire prevention. So just to conclude, we are in the midst of the SEPA environmental review process, the State Environmental Policy Act environmental review. We have not issued an environmental determination. We will not issue one until the traffic study has been completed. I'm going to stop sharing. The notice of application comment period is over, although we'll take comments up until basically the day I start preparing my staff report for the public hearing. But otherwise, I just want you to know we're still in the midst of the SEPA review, And finally, to conclude, I'm doing everything I can to try to get these meetings before you scheduled earlier than later so that you can be reviewing a project like the rest of us. It's kind of new. It hasn't been around for 5 months and been looked at by everybody, and then you can make a bigger difference earlier on in the process. So that's why you're seeing this project so early on without even a SEPA determination being issued. So I better stop. That concludes my presentation. I'll turn it back to you, Terry.
Thanks, Adonis. I got to tell you, that was an excellent presentation, you know, not a simple little garage plan or whatever, but you covered that really well. There's hope for Pierce County yet, huh?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Now, commissioners, at this point, if you have clarifying questions for Adonis, this would be a good time to ask those, kind of looking for clarifying questions. And then the applicant has the opportunity to speak. Adonis is the applicant here and going to make a presentation as well.
Yes, I see that Matt is here. So there isn't a representative here. Yes.
Okay. So commissioners, does anyone have any clarifying questions for Adonis on his presentation?
I do.
Hi. Go ahead, Gina. And then I see Dan as well.
Yeah, in regards to the wetlands mitigation, I know warehouse projects often have, because of all the hard surface, a lot more runoff to neighboring properties. And does it address ways that they're going to keep the water from going to that house that's just immediately to the south of it, or to run to the east where all those other houses are?
Oh, I think that's a great question. Unfortunately, we don't have a development engineer here, at least from the county side. So this is an issue that perhaps Mr. Gladney can discuss. I will say that, although I don't know that it makes people feel any better, but I think the goal of the conceptual storm drainage plan is basically that water doesn't leave this site at a rate greater than it left the site before it was developed. But that's about all I can say. So perhaps Matt has an answer, or one of his folks. So Matt, do you have an answer? Oh, there, yeah.
Yeah, I'll jump in. First and foremost, thank you guys for taking the time. Really appreciate it. Gina, to address your question and to caveat it the same way Adonis did, I'm not an engineer, but what we've developed or what we plan on doing is capturing all the hard surface runoff. Everything goes to a pre-treatment system, modular wetland, something that is it tries to capture any kind of sediment or anything to that effect. Then it'll transfer into a vault where it settles, and then transfer down into the county storm system. So all hard surface water should be captured, whether it's the roof or the driveways, and coalesce through our storm system and sent down to the larger storm system for Pierce County.
Matt, for the record, could you identify yourself?
Yeah, of course. My name is Matt Gladney. I'm with Bridge Development, and we are the applicant.
Okay, thank you. Does that answer your question, Gina? Does that help?
That helps for me to know what the plan is. So yeah, I'm sure that would be something that would come up with any of the neighboring owners if they were in attendance or had any comments. Have we received any comments from the public?
You're unmuted, Adonis.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it said unmute, and I thought that was was good. Yes, thank you. We've received comments from several neighbors on both notice of applications, expressing a variety of concerns about the proposal. Absolutely. I know it doesn't help you for tonight's meeting, but Mr. Kidston is available should you want to talk to him about the proposal and the storm drainage plan. You're also able to view the plan on the county's webpage if you look at the permit applications online. At first, that was very intimidating for me, and then once I've done it a little bit, it's gotten to be much easier to do. But basically, all these documents are available for public review if you have the time to do that. You can review the plan yourself as well.
I have a question. I don't know if you can see it. The plan or the information that was provided online, this is a picture of it. It looks like to the side, is that a retention pond? That would be, well, to the left. I can't remember if that was east or what, but I don't know if you can see it. But there's like, it looks like a retention pond. Is that
right? I was going to pull it up, pull up the site plan if I can. There we go. Just to see. So here's what we've got, right?
Yeah, is that a retention pond?
I believe so.
No, do you want me to jump in, Adonis, if you don't mind?
Yes, please go ahead, Matt.
So part of the wetland compensatory, what we're doing is we're rebuilding the wetlands on that side of the site. That's the page left or west of the site.
Gotcha.
So over there's 16,000 square feet of existing wetlands. There is a strip of wetlands that runs through the middle of the eastern parcel. We are taking the eastern parcel wetlands that are essentially a grass field and combining them over there and building a larger wetland on the left-hand side of the page. All the storm water that we talked about will be stored underground in a vault.
Okay.
Hey, Matt, can I ask you a question?
Of course.
Commissioners, just make sure you identify yourself when you ask questions. So for the record, we'll know who's asking what questions, if you would. So go ahead, Giovanni.
Thank you. This is Giovanni Vendetti. And so just so I understand, and everybody else who may not understand understands, when you say that there's going to be this drainage facility that's housing all this, you guys are going to be turning in like some kind of stormwater drainage manual that's engineered, that's probably like 75 pages long, and it's stamped, that has calculations showing and proving that the water is going to be going in a certain way, correct?
Correct. And typically how we run our entitlement process is we describe it similar to a relay race. We get through the SEPA process first, then we hand off the baton to the engineers to take it a step further and so on and so forth as we get going.
Right on, because yeah, I don't know much about that, but I know there's lots of moving parts, and just so maybe it would enlighten us a little bit. So thank you.
Of course.
Any other clarifying questions from commissioners? Dan, did you have a question?
Well, I think my questions were pretty much answered by Gina's question. The property to the west is where the holding pond's going to be. And on the map we just saw to the east, is that a parking lot that I see on that?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm doing a couple things here. So let's go back. You want to see that site plan? I got it right here. There. Okay. So this is a parking lot over here. And then there's parking here, of course, and parking here. And this is where trailer parking is going to go, right? So semi-trailer parking.
Okay, so that's going to be right in the face of the adjacent residential neighborhood, right? The semi-truck trailers will be right there. What kind of screening are you going to have?
That's, if I could, I'll let Matt as well, but I have asked questions about that specifically. As part of my review, I've noted that there are people living on the other side who won't want to have truck lights, facing their home or their yard while maybe they're trying to sleep or whatever. So I've raised the issue of, how are the trucks going to be parked? How are they going to protect the neighbors basically from light intrusion and noise intrusion? And I haven't got an answer to that yet.
Well, let me continue my question. The
Yeah.
100-foot buffer that you have there, basically, from
That's
the building to the easterly property line is essentially a place to park semi-trucks. Looks like more than a dozen of them.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah, it's a setback. Yeah, it's a building setback. So they've moved this building back at least 100 feet from the property line. Correct. Yep.
Well, within that setback, are you supposed to park dozens of semi-trucks? I'm just asking.
You can. What's prohibited in the 100-foot setback is industrial building, associated loading, unloading areas, and outdoor storage. So these are the things that are set back 100 feet: storage, loading, unloading areas, and the building, but not parking.
This is Giovanni Vendetti. Adonis,
Yes.
when they go and they submit all these documents, because of course they're not going to get issued any permits until they submit all the requirements of Pierce County and you guys. You had brought up the landscape plan. So this is going to be something that's probably addressed during those landscape plan comments or something like that.
Yep. Doing my best now to kind of bounce around. Let's see if we can find there. Okay. So here is the initial project review. Bear with me as I go down. 18J. 18J. Oh, that's not very much, is it? Okay, so if I go to the, I can do this, you guys. I can actually go to the conditional use permit, and I think I've made comments there, but my IPR doesn't go into great detail. There is a landscape buffer that's required basically all around this development. It varies in terms of what level of landscape buffer it is, depending on what's the adjacent use is. I'm thinking that it will be a level 3 adjacent to the subdivision to the east, which is a minimum 20-foot planting bed width, trees every 25 feet, that kind of stuff. But I'm also asking questions, maybe a fence is appropriate. There's also an elevation difference between the parking lot and the homes. So what we got was an application which is lacking some detail that I've asked for, and that involves tree conservation and landscape buffers as well as the architectural stuff. But Giovanni, you are correct. Those are things that they're not always submitted at the beginning, but they are required prior to going to a hearing, prior to issuing a site development permit, those kinds of things.
Okay, right on. So it's kind of clear that these things will follow and they will get addressed in due time.
They're prescriptive, and so not everybody is satisfied by the code and what it prescribes for a buffer. You know, landscape buffers have to be planted well, maintained, irrigated, that kind of stuff. But I've also asked some other questions kind of going beyond the code about just, you know, how's this going to work? Are people going to be parking trucks at night that are going to be loud with backup beepers? I just don't know enough about semi-trucks. So I've asked some very basic questions about, are these things going to make noise? Are they going to have backup beepers that will irritate people, 24 hours a day? I don't know.
You guys do a good job. You guys are very thorough and do a good job. So I have an explanation.
So again, if we could at this point, I want to make sure that we give the applicant an opportunity to make their presentation. Maybe they can address some of these concerns. And once we come down to a vote, what we're going to do with this, we could enter into our recommendation addressing that in hopefully a general way, not too specific. But, I think obviously that's a concern of trucks pulling in at the middle of the night and lights and noise. And but let's, if we can, this part of it, I want to try to keep to clarifying questions. So let's give the applicant an opportunity to address this specific issue. Any other clarifying questions from commissioners?
Gina has her hand up.
Gina?
I can, so if those trailers are being parked there on the east side, when you back them into the place, there's going to be that beeping all the time close to those houses. I'm concerned about that. But also, if they're disengaging them from the tractor trailer, then they are being stored. That is having parked trailers is storage.
Interesting.
So I would think that that is not in accordance with the requirement.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Dan, identify yourself if you would.
Yeah, Dan Haire. I want to pick up where Gina left off. Everything today, as far as shipping, is what is called just-in-time shipping. Most of your warehousing that comes from China is on its way in ships. Most of the shipping that is done regionally, it's shipped and stored in trucks as it's being delivered to Fred Meyer or to Safeway or whatever. Not everything that's being shipped or stored is stored in a warehouse. It is stored outside of the warehouse, getting ready to leave. It is actually stored when it's driving down the street, technically. My concern is this: the spirit and intent of the code is to have a 100-foot setback from a building of this size. And that the purpose is to have the residential development protected from the impact of that huge 200,000 square foot warehouse. And it prohibits the storage of anything within that 100-foot setback. It is contrary to the intent and spirit and the word of the code to use that 100-foot setback for storage. And it is storage when you're parking semi-trucks there. You can't control that it's not storage because it will be used for storage. They load it up, it stays there until the driver takes off, it's stored there until they leave. Here's the concern as far as it applies to the neighbors. The 100-foot setback goes from the warehouse clear to their property line, right to their backyard. That's the 100-foot setback. Within the 100-foot setback, they're going to back those trucks right up to their backyard. I don't know any of the people in that community. It's a nice community, and they deserve to have the property rights respected. The way this thing is laid out right now, those semi-trucks are going to back, all dozens of them, going to back right up to the property line, right up to their gate, right up to their fence. That is supposed to be a 100-foot building setback. It's being used for storage. Don't try to tell me that it's for parking.
Okay, Dan, I appreciate your
my point.
Yeah, I appreciate your comments. I think those are valid concerns and comments. But again, at this point, we've got a pretty preliminary application. There is a difference in the code as far as what constitutes storage and what constitutes parking, right? So how long is it there? Do we even know at this point? Are we going to detach those trucks? Maybe they're not. I think let's let the applicant speak to this. Our comments can certainly reflect these concerns if in fact it's deemed that what they're doing is going to unhook truck semis and leave them parked there for a long time or store them there for, and I don't know what a long time is, then it's storage. And then I think we've got a legitimate concern. But again, we're doing a lot of speculating now as far as what it may or may not be without this application being able to describe to us what it is. So I think let's, again, unless there's any more questions, let's give the applicant an opportunity to speak to this. If he can answer those questions where you're satisfied, great. If not, when we get down the road to make a recommendation, I think, and if those questions are not answered adequately, we can make sure that we, in our recommendation, that we pose that those questions be addressed in a manner that's not only consistent with the code, but as Dan, you so well put it, protects the property rights of the neighbors. Any other clarifying questions at this point?
Terry, may I just read my comments real like fast?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, but just so you know, this is what I asked for. We want to make sure that the property and residents on the east edge of the project site will not be negatively affected by noise or headlights from the trucks, parking trailers, and the trailer parking area. And I understand Mr. Haire's point about that maybe this isn't parking, it's storage, but my comments are addressing parking, if you will. It appears that the parking lot on the east edge of the project site will be 5 to 6 feet below the grade of the adjacent residential lots to the east and that many of these lots have a 6-foot-high wood fence on their western property line. In addition, a level 3 landscape buffer is required along the eastern property line. Will the trailers be backed in by the trucks? Do the trucks have backup beepers? Please address. So I just wanted you to know that I've asked, at least I recognize the potential, for an issue. So I'm done with that. I'll let you go, Terry. Back to you.
Well, thank you. That's helpful. And again, we may want to make sure that those comments are entered into our recommendation at some point. Again, one more chance. Any other clarifying questions for staff at this point? Hearing none. Let's let the applicant make their presentation. Who's presenting for the applicant?
Where are you? Where'd Matt go?
I'm right here.
There you are.
Sorry, this is Matt. And my apologies, I didn't have a presentation ready. I wanted to come and hear and hear the feedback and Daniel and Gina. I really appreciate those comments regarding the parking and the concerns. A little bit of history, bridge development. We like to pride ourselves in best in class buildings. We want to hear these concerns. We want to adjust the property or the project to fit the community. We're here for a long time, not just to build and go. This building is a speculative building. It's tough to speak to what the parking is going to be because we don't know who the tenant is. But we have had similar issues and similar projects, and we take great care into making sure that we're being neighborly to the surrounding neighbors and to Pierce County and to the Mid-County. Solutions that we've done in the past is a larger landscape buffer, sound walls, a landscaped wall to shroud the trucks and the noise or anything that's coming from that site. Typically what we do, whether it's required or not, is we try and do a sound study to make sure what we're designing and building will actually be effective and useful and provide some kind of privacy and buffer to the adjacent neighbors. And again, if trailer parking is an issue, we hear that and we'll take that back to our design teams and see what we can do to make it a better plan for everyone. We build speculative buildings, so they're kind of generic in the sense that we want them to be functional for any user, which is the reason why we have the cup hearing. We don't know if we're going to attract a manufacturer or a distributor or, somebody who's just going to, we've had all kinds of tenants. We've had, skate park people put skating rinks inside. We've had Amazon. We've had the who's of the world, but we just don't know. But we want to have these meetings so we can hear what the concerns are and we can adjust the building accordingly. So I appreciate you guys' time. There was a lot of questions. I'm not sure if I answered them all, but please don't be shy to reach out to Adonis, and we're happy to respond to as much as we can and provide a kind of an open conduit for any questions or comments.
I have one question, Mr. Chairman.
Dan, could you identify yourself again?
Yes, Dan Haire. Is this going to be a concrete tilt-up structure?
Yes, sir.
When you said sound barrier wall, are you referring to a concrete wall like they have along the freeway?
No, well, it depends. We've done the ones along the freeway. We've had a project in Lacey that we just recently completed where the neighbors asked for split face CMU with color differentiating and a cap. We did that. We've done all kinds. It just depends on the project.
This surface area of that storage or parking lot area is going to be 5 feet below the elevation of the property to the east?
Sounds like it. I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Any other questions of the applicant?
Yeah, I have a question. I'm John Boyle. I'm with Great West Property Management. We manage Crestview Village, which is the 69 unit association next door. And we're very concerned about several items. Drainage is probably one of the bigger ones, just because of the drainage swales that we have in the property that were engineered It's just a very wet area, and we're concerned about runoff to the residential area. And so we just would like to make sure that we have some sort of plan to make sure that that water is not absorbed into the backyards of the 10 homes that face the planned project. That's a big concern. I think the concerns on the buffer have been brought up, and those are good. We'd like to see the final plans, including the landscape plans, just because it affects those residential homes in a big way. And so it's very important that we get this right from the beginning. But this has been very informative. There's a lot of good information. I know a lot of it is preliminary, and we look forward to a good partnership in working through this. But I would encourage the planners to look at our engineered drainage swales, and let's work on something to make sure that we don't have problems down the road.
Thank you. And what was your name again?
John Boyle.
Hi, John. Thank you so much. And if I could just speak to this for a moment, because I've had a lot of experience in this. A number of years ago, served on a task force with Pierce County that was updating our stormwater manual. And I thought I knew a lot about stormwater management until I got involved in that. And I came to realize that we have a state stormwater manual that is mandated by the state. The county can modify that as long as they meet what they call levels of equivalency. And this task force was designed to kind of explore, how our manual's going to coincide with the state manual. And as they brought those out, I realized that both of those are about 2 feet thick if you laid them on a desk, and the papers, and they're typed on both sides. So it's a huge section of permitting and approval. It's one of the largest issues, most expensive issues that a jurisdiction has to deal with, is how do we deal with stormwater management if we don't deal with it correctly and we start flooding out neighbors? What kinds of those are big problems, and it's not easy. And I think especially in our mid-county, the reason that we have this wonderful rural separator stuff is that it's because we have poor soils. And so it wasn't developed way back when because it didn't perk. And so we have to be even more cognizant of that because, it's not going to all percolate. But Dan, I want to give you the assurances that they will vet this thoroughly. Some would say beat it to death as to what this stormwater plan is going to require before there's any permitting done. And before those permits are issued, there will be very, very detailed plans and calculations to confirm that your property is going to be protected. Anyway, I hope that might alleviate your concerns. Keep abreast of it, keep looking at it. But
I think, thank you. I appreciate that. I think the other thing is the concern about the manufacturing. As a residential community, we're always concerned about manufacturing and what goes along with that. So
noise and that kind of a thing.
Well, not only that, but odors, depending upon what type of manufacturing we're talking about. And again, we have on the west side of our property, we have at least 10 homes that abut that fence. And so we want to make sure they're protected, and, noise, impact of drainage and other types of impact, that would affect their daily living.
Good. And again, I appreciate your comments, Dan. And again, I encourage you to keep abreast of this process. and that should alleviate your concerns. All of those things that you brought up are all reviewed as part of the permitting, whether it's noise, odors, anything that's considered to be noxious or offensive in any way is addressed, not always correctly. So again, I encourage you to keep abreast, but it, I think oftentimes the public is just so unaware of what all goes into place from an engineering standpoint in all of these areas to protect, the neighboring property rights.
Right.
And again, some would suggest they beat it to death and it's way overdone. And of course, others think that they need to do more. But I think, again, I see one of my roles is having land use experiences, helping to educate the public, such as yourself, that there is a lot more that goes into it, and understanding that should make us all feel more comfortable with the process. But again, no one's going to activate better for our rights than we are. So again, keep abreast of it.
Okay. Well, thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Okay. Didn't mean to monologue there. Sorry, troops. I'll get off my soapbox, but any other questions for the applicant?
Decent.
Is this a public commenting time, or is this just?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if there's no more comments, then we would open it up for public comment. We encourage that we try to stay within our 3 minutes, but if we have any public comment, then now's the time.
Here it goes.
I raised my hand. I don't want to talk out of turn.
What, say that? Say again, Gabe?
I raised my hand. I just didn't want to talk out of turn. So.
Yeah, go ahead, Gabe. Identify yourself and then go ahead on her.
I'm Gabe Tetro, and I'm a part of the Summit Waller Community Association board, and we are just on the border, basically on the other side of the freeway from this development. I put some questions inside the chat if anyone's seen them, but my main concern is, like Dan had specified, and I think Gina also talked about, was the setback being based on storage and use and the building, strictly because the vehicles or trailers are parked in and out of those slots along the east side or the east side of the project. Even if they're rotating on a regular basis, it's still storage. It's regular storage. So, I know that they're a developer and they're going to be leasing this out to somebody down the road, but there's always creep that happens with business, that it wasn't intended for this, but then it gets used for this, and then it becomes a common thing. And the only way to get it to stop is by lawsuits or complaints to I would like to see that preemptively stopped and prevented before it even becomes a problem down the road, just by simply making sure that the setback is appropriate for the actual function of those slots reserved, what looks like semi-trailer parking. Even if it is short-term, it will still be used long-term, rotated. That's my comment right there. And the associated pollution would be noise, smell, and fumes from tractor trailer trucks, the lighting, and then as security systems go, I know that these large businesses, they have to have security lighting up to make sure their properties are well maintained and well monitored. And that's also going to be a big beacon of light in an otherwise quietly dark neighborhood. So that's my only thing. Thank you.
Thanks, Gabe. Really appreciate that. Again, I'd encourage you to keep abreast of this process. And I couldn't cite you right now in the code, but I know that there is, within the code, there is definitions and descriptions as what constitutes the difference between parking and storage, right? So I may be able to park my RV next to my house, but I can't store it. When does it become parking and when it becomes storage? I couldn't cite exactly what that is, but it is. And again, we have to be careful not to speculate that just because there's a parking stall there that it's automatically going to be storage. I think that's a valid concern. I'm hoping that Matt's hearing this and he can address that at subsequent public hearings to address that, because I agree with you. Sometimes it's hard to stop it once they've been practicing it. So So let's be proactive and I, for one, I'm going to suggest that we address this question as far as getting some clarification, so we don't have to speculate as to what that definition is, or make sure that we're comfortable that it won't be used for storage, just parking. Okay, but thank you. Any other public comment or questions? Okay, seeing none, we will close the public comment section of this. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Adonis, but we're looking for a recommendation from the commission as to whether we're supporting this application or recommending denial, or supporting it or denying it with certain modifications, recommendations. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I got to make sure I'm unmuted. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Somebody's got to, somebody has to, what's the term? Somebody has to make a proposal, and then it has to be seconded. And then there's a discussion. And then you want to see if anybody has any proposed amendments, that kind of stuff. But right now does anybody have does anybody want to propose approving something,
Do I have a motion out there?
I move approval.
Who made that motion? I'm sorry.
Giovanni Vendetti, I move approval of the conditional use permit for Bridge 34th Avenue.
Okay, so it's been moved. Do we have a second?
Move to no second.
No second. Do we have,
This is Gary Gumser. I'll go ahead and second it, but with clarification that we need to have, the rest of these, sections that weren't completed yet, to know really where this thing's going, because there's still a lot of open questions, that need to be addressed and completed.
rather than going through, thank you, Gary, rather than going through what I think sounds like it's going to be a failed vote and then have to amend it and stuff, are we breaking the rules, Adonis, if we maybe suggest an amendment to our approval or recommendation that goes along with our approval, and then see if we can get a motion and a second on that? Is that breaking any rules, Adonis?
I don't know the Robert's Rules of Order well enough to know all the details, but let's see. A motion was made by Giovanni to recommend approval, basically, I think as presented.
Yeah.
And then Gary has said, well, I'd like to propose some amendments to that. So you guys can discuss the amendments, but the amendments weren't well defined. I wasn't able to write anything down. And so maybe somebody wants to withdraw their recommendation for, approval, and then maybe you guys want to discuss the project some more.
Yeah, Giovanni, I'm going to make a request that for a minute that you withdraw your motion, and then that Gary would withdraw the second. And then what I'd like to do is talk about some of the points that Adonis had brought up earlier, mentioned the storage and some of those things, and we can discuss what that amendment would be. And then we reapproach it with that amendment.
Right. So the amendment will actually become part of the proposal. If you want to just talk about this rather than throwing something out and then amending it, you can maybe agree before somebody makes a motion to.
This is Giovanni. I rescind that motion.
Okay, that's good. Yep.
And this is Gary, I rescind my second.
Perfect. Okay. So if you would, Adonis, if you could share with us again those notes that you took based on, I think, some of the first questions and on there. Could you run through those again?
Yeah. Yes. Hopefully you can hear me. So my comments, I believe you're referring to are the ones that relate to the east edge of the project site and the parking storage area.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'll read my comments, and if there's anything that's helpful, or if you just stop me, if I said, we want to make sure that the property and residents on the east edge of the project site will not be negatively impacted by noise or headlights from the trucks, parking trailers, and the trailer parking area. So just introducing the issue that we've all discussed about the trucks and potentially impacting the 9 or 10 homes to the east. It appears that the parking lot on the east edge of the project site will be 5 to 6 feet below the grade of the adjacent residential lots to the east, and that many of these lots have a 6-foot high wood fence on their western property line. There will be a level 3 landscape buffer required. So there's no doubt that we have some things that are, as you were pointing out, Terry, that there's a bunch of codes that will be applied to this project that haven't been applied yet. So we're not seeing a project with a landscape plan or a tree conservation plan or, that kind of stuff. But there will be a level 3 landscape buffer. So
I think your comments in my mind, and I'm speaking for myself now, not as the chairman, but I think those comments are perfect, because what we're doing is we're addressing the concerns that I think everyone's brought up tonight. Dan, Gina, Gabe, and another Dan, or John, I'm sorry, I keep calling him Dan, John. Sorry, John. But I think that really addresses those concerns. I think, again, the drainage plan is going to be part of the stormwater plan, which will be very detailed. But I think those comments are perfect. What I would recommend is that we include those comments in our recommendation, amend the recommendation to include those comments, and then ask for a motion and a second. Any comments on that, troops?
Yes.
Dan?
I'm sorry. Does that include the traffic plan as well?
Yeah, again, the traffic, is this John?
This is John with
Yeah,
Great West.
John. Yeah, they will have to, as part of their application, they will have to do a traffic study. What they will do is they hire a traffic engineer that has got a lot of expertise in traffic counts and road capacities and those things, and then they will issue that report, and based on that report, the county will make a recommendation for any offsite improvements, lights, how to address basically the traffic impacts so that the roads impacted by it will stay within compliance. So I wouldn't support including the storm drainage and the traffic plan in this amendment, because again, that's part of the code that's going to be vetted very thoroughly. We'll have time at other public hearings and stuff to view those plans as they're built out. And so I don't think it's necessary there, but I believe the storage, the noise, that stuff would be applicable for what we're doing tonight.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Dan Haire.
Yes, thank you. Dan Haire. I want to vote to support this project. And here's what it's going to take to get my vote, if it matters. I'm concerned about the people on the west side of the property. We've been told tonight that the subject property is 5 to 6 feet below
the east
elevation of that residential property, and that there's a 6-foot fence on that property. You add them together, it's about a 11 or 12-foot difference. So if you take what they call a tall semi truck, they're a good 10, 12 feet high anyway. What it would take to get my vote is the agreement of the property developer to put a sound attenuating concrete wall along that property line, or actually within the property line, in such a manner as that will prevent runoff from the subject property from going into the residential area. It will block sound or mitigate the sound. It will block headlights and dampen the noise and protect the property values of the residential area. I'm not talking about a 12-foot high concrete wall. It's already 5 feet below. if you could add another 8 feet, an 8-foot concrete wall along there on the east side, I think would be a mitigating factor that I would like to see put into a motion tonight to support this project with our vote. If we could just somehow, Mr. Chairman, get that incorporated into a motion.
Okay, we'll take that under consideration. Any more thoughts on our suggested amendments to this, to our vote, or on the commissioners? Okay, seeing none, let's
make a motion.
Well, hang on just a sec. I want to address yours. One of the things I would be concerned with about what you're saying, Dan, is in the past, I've seen where very early on in the process, LUACs make specific recommendations on how to deal with issues that we don't have enough information on to even know what's going to be there or go there. The applicant hasn't had an opportunity. Maybe with our concerns, they're going to redesign it so there isn't even a parking on the north side. So for us to mandate, well, we're not mandating because we're strictly making a recommendation, but for us to recommend specific solutions to things that we don't even know are really there yet can really put people in a box. And so my recommendation for a motion would be not to have a specific about a 10-foot concrete wall, but the fact that we're going to have the opportunity to address your concerns and exactly how that's fixed, but what those specific solutions are that we're going to wait until we see what actually is further down the road when we get into the engineering stage so that we can see that. And through public hearings, we'll have that opportunity.
Well, I'm going to respectfully disagree. I have seen times when a LUAC and other bodies such as ours don't make specific recommendations. It goes forward, it ends up being a big problem. I'll cite you an example. At the bottom of Waller Road in Pioneer Way, you have that large warehouse down there. It was built out right into the road. There was a lawsuit involved, and the mitigation to that lawsuit required that buffer and the berm that you see there now and a further setback from Pioneer Way of that large warehouse. The berm that you see along there, that furniture warehouse at the bottom of Waller Road, was caused by a lawsuit by the community, which resulted in that berm being put in there. There doesn't need to be a lawsuit every time a proposal is made. There can be specific recommendations made early on, and that's our job here. And if you want my vote, and I hope the rest of you would feel similarly, to respect the property rights of that residential community. We know for a fact there's going to be a warehouse there. We know for a fact there's supposed to be a 100-foot setback buffer, and they're planning on using it for parking and or storage of large trucks. There needs to be a sound attenuating wall there that obscures sound, noise, sight, everything I would assume but smell. And we have the ability to do that as a recommendation. Now, if the applicant doesn't like it, he can work around it and go against it. But to get my vote, it's going to take a concrete wall of at least 8 to 10 feet high along there, and that will solve all the problems. Okay,
and thank you, Dan, and I appreciate your concern. And it's a double-edged sword, so it can work both ways, right? Not making a recommendation when you should and getting specific. Now, all that being said, what I'd like to see is a motion then, and then a second, and then a vote. So if you want to make a motion, including that wall, Dan, you're well within your rights to do that.
Well, I'm going to make the motion. I'm going to preface it first very briefly. There's going to be a 100-foot setback. That's not going to be a setback. It's going to be used for parking and or storage. And bordered to that is the residential community to the east. We need to do something, not just pass it on and let it, hopefully it comes out at the end. We know it's 5 feet below grade. If we add an 8-foot wall at a minimum along there, that solves all the problems. So I make a motion that we approve the proposal, subject to all the other administrative inquiries that are going to be done anyway, drainage, traffic, all that. But the motion would include our recommendation that there be a concrete wall of 10 feet high, 8 to 10 feet high along the eastern property line that borders the houses, where the warehouse is at. That's not the entire place, just where the parking lot is.
Okay, now in that, your motion then, Dan, would you want Adonis's other comments that we spoke about included in that, or would you have those
Sure,
deleted?
include those also.
Okay, so Adonis's comments that we spoke of earlier, and you would just add to that did you say 10-foot wall, 8-foot wall?
The calculation would be measuring from the bottom of the tire to the top of the tall, high trailer. What would it take to obscure the trailer? Is it an 8-foot plus the 5 that they're already below grade, or would a 6-foot be enough? Whatever it takes to obscure the parking of trailers.
Well, and I think you just made my point there is we're not engineers. I'm not sure we can sit here tonight and decide what that is to be adequate enough to do exactly what you're suggesting, which is why I'm suggesting that we maybe deal with that on a general sense, and then we can have time down the road to do the specifics. But again, this is your motion, Dan. So if you want to put a 10-foot wall or 8-foot wall, 6-foot for your
A wall sufficient enough to
Mitigate.
the site of a tractor trailer. And depending on what that is, it could be an 8-foot or a 10-foot.
so sufficient to basically hide the entire rig.
Correct.
Okay, hide the whole rig. Okay. So I don't know if we can we describe that in a way so it's a motion that we can read, Adonis?
Oh, Gina has a question too.
Oh, okay, Gina.
All right.
I was gonna offer a possibility that might work out. If we propose a motion that recommends approval subject to the project modifying the proposal to either include an appropriate height soundproof wall that will obscure from view all trailer parking and all backup beeping sound that it's going to create, or move the parking to the freeway side where most places park stuff because nobody cares what the view is from the freeway, in coordination with the community association there to the development there to the east of the property, so that they do one or the other in coordination with the homeowner association in the development to the east.
Say that one, I lost about the
Okay.
homeowner association.
Okay. If we can have our, I saw, there's a guest here, the person who commented, what association is he from?
Oh, he's from the homeowner association for those. I'm not sure if John, if they're condos or fee simple housing to the east.
It's the Crestview Village Homeowners Association,
Okay,
69 residential homes right to the east of the proposed project.
Yes.
okay, thank you.
I'm sorry. Hey, I'm sorry. This is Dwight. It's Gabe that put the chat. He described in the chat what his question was. It wasn't the homeowners association. Sorry.
Well, no, I understand that
Yes.
it was Gabe that put it in the chat. However,
Ooh,
the
good job.
best organization to negotiate one of the two solutions is to work in coordination with that homeowners association to the east to develop either a wall that meets their needs to protect their homeowners, or move the parking over to the freeway on the north side of the property.
Okay.
I'd like to
Again,
modify my motion.
Oh,
Excuse me?
say again, Dan.
I would like to modify my motion or to amend my motion.
Okay, so I hear Gina was proposing a motion and Dan's proposing a motion. I'm kind of assuming that Dan, you're going to marry those.
Yes, absolutely. I think.
Okay, go ahead. Well, I'll officiate the proposal.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I would move that we recommend that the applicant do one of two things. Either move the proposed parking that's now proposed along the east, move it to the north along the freeway. Alternatively, keep it where it's at and have a sound, sight, noise obscuring concrete wall of an appropriate height to block the sight of any of those tractor trailer rigs. That's the motion, either or.
Okay, and including those comments that Adonna said.
Yes.
Okay. Other than that, we would be, with those modifications, the motion is to approve, recommendation to approve their plan.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, or provide.
Someone else?
I second Dan's motion.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. I think we discuss it at this point, Adonis?
Yes, which you've been doing already, but yeah, you discuss it. Yep.
Okay, so
Make sure everybody's, yeah.
any comments on the motion that we have on the floor?
This is Gary Gubser. One of the things, I guess for clarification, we're putting in a proposal now for them to go a certain direction with their plans. When we don't have, like Adonis, has appropriately put out questions right now, to get answers to. So by us approving this, it's not approved per se all the way through to the end. I mean, there's still going to be a lot of information that'll be coming forward to get further approval. Is that correct? Or once we approve it, it's out of our hands and goes forward? So that helped me there.
May I? Oh,
yeah, let me just speak to that if I may. One of the things that I hear over and over again from LUAC commission members that is a frustration is that they make these recommendations and then they go through anyway and they get ignored. The reason they do is they're not consistent with the code, and basically they're not well founded. The problem that I have with the motion on the floor is starting to make specific requests like parking to the north. Otherwise, we're recommending denial. Okay. Or a 10-foot wall when we don't know. I think it was pointed out to me that the L3 landscape buffer requires a berm. I don't know the heights of the berm. I don't know the specifics of the berm, but it requires a berm that provides that. That might even be more soundproof, frankly, than a concrete wall. And so, again, I don't believe that we have the expertise to engineer this project, nor the knowledge of what the specifics are of the project, especially early on in the project. It's like we're starting to talk about, what finishes we're putting in the kitchen. What's the tile going to be? What's the backsplash going to be when we don't even have the floor plans designed yet? And so I just think it's inappropriate for us to make specific requests at this point in time on the proposal. Again, my vote would be a no on this particular motion, but I would encourage that we address these issues generally, and then keep, if we're care enough about it, that we will keep abreast of it and make sure that these questions are addressed, because we can always reapproach this as a LUAC body down the road. Anyway, that's my comments. Any other comments from commissioners?
2 comments. Number one, the history of LUAC recommendations being ignored is because we've had a hearing examiner system for the last 30 years that has been what it is. The Pierce County Council has since washed that clean. We have now a new hearing examiner system in Pierce County. It is yet to be tested. We don't know, but it's not Mr. Casso anymore. okay, or any of his minions. I'm glad to say. We'll see what happens going forward, okay?
Okay, well, again, you have a motion on the floor. Any
Number
more?
two.
Just go ahead.
If we don't address this now, it's not going to be addressed. It's just going to float off, and it's going to be like many other proposals in Pierce County. It's going to be a mess. I reaffirm my position or motion, put it to the north, alternatively to the east, with a sound attenuating wall, which could include a berm. It doesn't have to be concrete, but it certainly doesn't need to be a slab.
Well, again, if our motion says we're going to deny it unless they put a concrete wall, now you're saying that a berm may be okay, Dan?
If they want to put a berm there that is 10 feet high, that's capable of doing the same thing as a concrete wall, that would be fine. The point is not to burden them with a specific requirement. The purpose is to address the problem. And if it can be accomplished with a concrete wall or an earthen berm that it site obscures and prevents the noise from coming through, that would be adequate. And I would amend my motion to be either a berm or a concrete wall. But these wooden fences you see around Pierce County, they don't do it.
Yeah, again, I agree. A 6 foot, ½ inch thick cedar fence isn't going to block a lot of sound or whatever. So
Okay, I've had my hand up and I just don't get recognized unless I interrupt.
I'm sorry, Gina. I'm not watching the hand up thing. So please speak up.
Okay, well, the reason I had in my recommendation that it be in coordination with the neighboring Crest View Homeowners Association or whatever it is, I did not write that down. They can hammer out the agreements. That's why people who own adjacent properties meet together to try to discuss whether it's a good neighbor fence or not a good neighbor fence.
Okay. So you're suggesting that we subrogate our approval to the homeowners association?
No.
So in other words, what you're saying is we work with what they want so they can decide, which that's the whole plan anyway, that moving forward, depending on how the plans are designed, that's exactly why I keep encouraging John and their association to stay abreast of it so they can do exactly that. But what you just said was that our recommendation would be in accordance with whatever the homeowner association wanted, which means that we're subrogating our recommendations to
In
them.
negotiation with, I said a sound barrier wall or other that leaves open berm, landscaping, whatever kind of other thing
Right.
to obscure the site, that they work out in negotiation with their neighbors.
Yeah.
I mean, that neighbors do that stuff. Or we can just do flat, but the other question I wanted to address was you're asserting that making a specific recommendation is not advisable at this early stage because we don't know what all those other plans are. Well, obviously it has to be advisable at this early stage. They put it on the calendar for us to look at now. And if we need to know all that other stuff, then they shouldn't even put it on our calendar to look at it if we do not have the ability to make a recommendation.
Okay, thank you, Gina. So what your recommendation is that these projects should be fully engineered prior to bringing them to the LUAC?
No, I was just trying to dispute your argument that we can't make recommendations because we don't even know what the final project is to look like.
All I'm suggesting, Gina, is that not that we can't make recommendations. I'm asking for motions that make recommendations. All I'm saying is in my 36 years of doing this, on both sides of the fence, representing homeowners, all of that, and I said on both sides of the fence on a regular
for a developer in the past.
Okay.
California.
Okay. And all I'm saying is, okay, never mind. Anyway, what I'm saying is making specific requests before the project through can cause more problems than it solves is again, my opinion.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I'm going to call for the question. I have a motion and it's been seconded.
Yep. Okay. So there's been a motion and a second. All right, wait a minute. Let me ask Adonis, are you clear of the motion, Adonis?
Thank you for asking. So I have written down something that's close, but I'm sure it doesn't capture everything. So I said The motion by Dan is to approve the project as proposed with an amendment that the applicant either one, move the proposed parking to the north, or two, that the applicant provide a sound attenuating wall or earthen berm along the eastern property line that hides the trailers from the view of Crestview Village.
That is correct. Plus the.
And my comments.
Yes.
Yes. So I do want to tell you that in terms of, there's an 8-foot limit on the height of walls and fences on the property line for industrial sites. So we have a limit, but you guys have gotten rid of the height. I like that. We can do a noise study. You can make recommendations as to what the material should be. But that's what I've got. I've got move proposed parking to the north or provide a sound attenuating wall or earthen berm that also hides the trailers from the view of Crestview Village and include the comments that I made in the computer. Is that close enough? And so that you know what happens is this will be conveyed to the examiner. There will be, minutes that I will put together. Tony will put his minutes together as well after he's done with his hearing. These will be included as part of the hearing. I will consider them. They're excellent comments. We're clearly all honing in on one particular or a couple particular issues, and we're all agreeing that more needs to be done and more will be done so we can figure this out. Okay, so the comments don't have to be perfect. Your motion doesn't have to be perfect. It's enough to make it very clear that your body is concerned about the impacts of this project on folks to the east. Okay, that's very clear from your motion.
Adonis, the record needs to reflect that Chairman Terry Wise, his computer just crashed. And he messaged me, he said, my computer crashed, my vote is no. So he's trying to to log back in, and I'm going to let you know that we're here waiting for
Yeah. Okay. So Giovanni, what we've done is we've, you know what we've done, but I think we've reached a point now where unless more comments are to be made, that you can take a vote on the motion that's been seconded by Gina. Do you agree?
How many LUAC members are here right now?
You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You have plenty.
Okay. Have we?
The question's been called for, so we can do the vote.
So
it's time to do the vote.
H. Bickle actually put his vote in the chat. I'm just speaking out because I know you guys aren't paying attention to the chat. That's all I'm saying.
No, we are. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Gabe. I read your comments as well. Yeah.
Okay. Is Mitch still here?
Mitch.
Who's Mitch?
Mitch Allen? Yeah. Michael Allen?
Oh, no, Michael wasn't here today.
Oh, he wasn't here at all. Okay.
No, Michael is the only one that didn't make tonight's meeting. So 7 out of the 8 of you made it. Terry right now is not here. So there's 6 of you. If you want to take the vote.
Call for the question.
I think I heard Dan say call the question. So according to Robert's rules, we need to vote.
Yeah.
Can you repeat?
Would you like me to do that? You bet. I can go through the names. Yep. Okay. So now we're going through, again, taking a vote on motion made by Dan and seconded by Gina. I'm going to go through the list now for the vote. Let's see, attendance and vote. Okay. Terry Wise. Did he give us an India? He said no, right, Giovanni? He said no?
Yeah, he texted me and he said no. He says he's trying to log in right now.
Okay. Giovanni.
I don't know if that's acceptable.
No, it's
not.
It's not in the meeting.
It's not at the meeting.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, we'll wait on that and see if he, that's okay then. We still have enough. Giovanni?
I'm a no.
No? Okay. Herb? Herb? Did we ever hear from Herb today?
Can you unmute him? He's there and it's not, he tried to second my motion earlier and he hasn't, he needs to be unmuted or something. Because he's,
Yeah,
You can star to unmute.
I don't have a mute button for him. Okay, let's go over here.
he just typed in no again on this thing. And if you look, it says 803 no.
Okay. Nope, I can't get Herb's audio or unmute. I don't have a mute or unmute button for Herb. Okay, so how about Dan?
I support the motion.
Yes. Gina?
Yes.
Dwight?
Yes.
Gary?
No.
So that's 5. We have 5 and that's a quorum. If you're, I'm sorry, I honestly don't know the rules well enough, but you, I'm going to go with you guys. So if the person's not at the meeting.
No, they can't, then that can't count. Yeah, you're correct, Adonis.
Gotcha. Okay, so we're not counting Terry's and we haven't been able to make contact with Herb. So we do have 5 out of 8. We have 3 yeses and 2 nos. So the motion passes by a vote of 3-2. And I guess Giovanni, it's up to you to maybe end that particular case.
Okay. Terry's trying to log in.
Okay.
I have him on speakerphone here for the next.
Excuse me.
I'm available.
The vote has been taken.
Yeah, that's okay. We've had our vote. Yep, we're okay.
Done.
We have enough people and we've got our vote. So is it time, Giovanni, to move on to the next case?
Correct. Here, I'm pulling up the agenda here.
Okay.
I'm still trying to loop other people in that have been cut off here. I'm not trying to re-vote, but.
No, that's, yeah, we want to get some.
Our members that are having difficult times connecting, if we can help them out, trying to connect, that's what I'm trying to do.
Perfect. Okay.
Let me pull up this agenda here. Moving on to the next thing on the agenda, preliminary plat, PDD and rezone Lesky.
Yes.
Okay, so I've just passed this off to Tony. Tony is now the host. Okay, so Tony, make sure that you end the session when you're done, and it is recording.
Let me just make sure I can share my screen here.
Yep. Yep. You started screen sharing. Okay, so I'm going to let you take over. Well, you are taking over, Tony. I just wanted to thank everybody for your time and your thoughts and your input. It was super helpful for me, and I hope it was as helpful for Matt as well. So thank you, guys. I'm going to turn it over to Tony now. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Adonis.
Okay.
All right. For the record, I'm Tony Cantus, planner with Pierce County. This is the Mid-County Advisory Commission meeting for the Lesky project. The applicant requests preliminary plat, plan development district, also known as a PDD, and a rezone approval to subdivide 5 acres into 18 single-family residential lots and dedicate 0.16 acres to passive open space. The subject property is currently zoned residential resource, also known as RR. The RR zone requires a minimum density of 1 dwelling unit per acre per net developable acre and a maximum of 3 dwelling units per net developable acre. The applicant proposes to rezone the property to single family through the PDD process. The single family zone requires a minimum and a maximum density of 4 dwelling units per acre, net developable acres. The proposed density is 3.6 dwelling units per 4.45 net developable acres. Tongue-tied there. This is the vicinity map to where the property is located. The 5 acre parcel is located south of 112th here. and fronts 7.
Okay, here, 1 second. Excuse me, it's not letting our members back into this meeting. The members that have fallen off, it's not allowing them to get back into the meeting.
Huh.
Yeah, that's not very good.
I do Zoom meetings every week. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the host needs to allow people into the meeting because there's a waiting room.
And
Oh,
I had a difficulty joining on right in the beginning. And
wait just a sec. Here's some. I just saw. A minute. Is everyone in now? Wait, here's another one that's coming in. Is everyone in, Giovanni?
I think Terry's back in. It says, looks like it's connecting to audio right now. Right? You're in, Terry? No, you need to unmute yourself.
How we doing? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we have a quorum right now?
I don't know. Who else shall we take? Roll again. Are you there, Adonis?
We still have 5 people, so yes, we have a quorum.
Okay, and I don't know our this is the first time that we've lost what, half of our people. Are you there, Adonis?
Adonis is done. It's Tony. It's a new project now.
Oh, okay. So okay, Tony, you're with Pierce County then, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have how many LUAC members got kicked off? Something happened that we got a number of us got kicked off. 3 of us, it sounds like, or 2 of us, 3. Do you know, Tony?
I don't know. I didn't know that anyone got kicked off until Giovanni gave me a heads up, and then I looked, and then in the upper corner there was some people that were trying to get in. So no.
Yeah, there was some, my whole computer just crashed, shut down, and I had to do a whole reboot, and then it wouldn't let me in initially, and I'm finally in now. So I don't know what's going on, whether, and in a situation like that, whether that affects our quorum if, people get dumped off the computer or.
Wait, here's another one coming in.
So long as we still have 5 members, we still have a quorum and can continue the meeting. If we get below 5, then you're going to have to end it.
Okay, well, when you start with a larger quorum, Gina, and I don't know, I can tell you're frustrated, but I'm just asking the question because I don't know Robert's Rules of Order. I don't know policy with LUAC well enough to know that if some of the members that were part of the quorum get deleted for whatever reason, that affects the initial, because we had a quorum of 7 and they were present. I don't know how many we lost. You're saying we have 5 left. Is that right, Gina?
We're a committee of 8. To have a quorum at any meeting is to have at least 5 members. So,
Okay,
so long as we have 5, we
What
can
I'm asking you, Gina,
Uh-huh.
does it make a difference when the meeting is started and you have a quorum of 7, which is what
No,
we
7
started?
is not a quorum. 7, forget.
We had a
7.
quorum of 7. We
No.
had a quorum of 7 because 7 people were present,
Now, Mr.
and
Chairman.
that made a
Point
quorum.
of order.
No,
Okay, point of order. From
The
who?
chairman has the floor.
I'm just asking a question. I don't know the answer, Gina. I don't have any agenda, but I just want to make sure that we're moving forward correctly. I understand it takes 5 to have a quorum, okay? But there were 2 people that made the effort, or 3 people. Again, I don't know how many we have now, but however many people made the effort were part of the meeting, including the chairman, and then we were booted out of the computer. I don't know if that affects the legitimacy of this meeting or the quorum, because now you don't have a chairman,
Okay,
right?
Mr.
You don't have
Chairman,
anyone to run the meeting.
I can answer your question if I may.
Okay,
You need to get a new computer. The last time you were here, your voice sounded like a chipmunk. And tonight you get booted off. It's not our fault. You need to get a new computer.
Okay, point of order, point of order. I move that we adjourn this meeting and we can follow what's rest on this agenda at our next meeting. This is getting out of hand and we're looking at 8:13 right now, everyone. Does anybody second that motion?
Could we hear the proposal and proceed? We have a quorum.
Well, there's been a motion. I think he has the right to make the motion, Dan, just like you had a right to make a motion. I didn't get the opportunity to even hear what happened on the previous case, what the motion was it adopted? Was it rejected? You know, because I was, and again, whether it was my computer or something, I have no idea. I have a number of computers. They're upscale computers. It's not like I got some home deal. And I'm sorry about that, Dan, but it happened. Don't know if it was user error or whatever, but again, I didn't have the opportunity to vote on the last case. I don't even know what took place there. I don't know what the motion was. I'm supposed to be chairing this meeting and I wasn't able to be a part of that. That concerns me about the legitimacy of a meeting when we don't even have members that can see or hear what's going on. Again, I don't necessarily have a problem moving forward as long as I was just hoping to get my questions answered. I'm sorry I offended you by asking what seemed like fair questions. Is the legitimacy of our meeting tonight affected because, and it wasn't just me, it wasn't just my computer, Dan, evidently, I don't know how many, I'm asking the question, how many people were kicked off at that point?
They weren't kicked off.
Okay.
There were a few people that went off and I had to readmit and I didn't know they got kicked off. So
can we have a motion on the table? Can we vote on this motion to adjourn the meeting? That way legal department at Pierce County and the people in planning and public works can look over this and decide if what was done is correct. And then we can pick up this next agenda item at our next meeting.
Well, can I recommend?
You would need a
count and go forward with
please, Tony. Yeah, I'd like to hear your input, Tony.
What if we have a quorum? Could we just hear this project? I mean, because it's been advertised through the notice of application, and you know, and then you can decide about the previous case. I mean, we'll address that with our legal department and director.
Well, again, I think a motion's been made out of respect for the commissioner. I think we need to ask for a second if there's a second to that motion. But first of all,
then ask.
I don't know that we have a quorum, so I need to take a roll call again. How do I know that, Gina? All I can see is your face on the screen. I don't see anything else. So what I'm asking,
pull down the part that says participants. You'll see who is here. You just touch on that part that says participants.
Okay, I'm sorry this upsets you so much,
Well, no,
Gina.
I'd like to just continue with the meeting.
What's that?
The member would like to continue with the.
So what I'm asking is, if we're going to continue with the meeting, we need to know we have a quorum. And so I'm asking to see who's still available that's
I'm
on
here.
the.
Dan's here. You're here.
Dwight Otis is here.
Johnny is here.
We have a quorum, Terry.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to confirm, that we still indeed have a quorum. Thank you. I'm sorry that was so difficult and so offensive. So now that we have a quorum, we have a motion on the table. And out of respect for our fellow commission member, just as I did with you, Dan, I gave you the opportunity to make and amend and talk about your motion. I would like, he deserves to hear that. So we have a motion before the floor that we adjourn the meeting because of these computer glitches that took place. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a second from Gary. It's been moved and seconded that because of the computer glitches, the problems we have with this meeting, that we reconvene at a time that we didn't have this malfunction. I would like to get a vote now, or I don't think we need to discuss it. We're either going to vote yes or no.
We need discussion.
You need discussion on the vote.
Okay, so let's discuss it.
It's been advertised, if I may, Dan Haire, it's been advertised. We have a quorum. We're here. Sure, my batteries are running low. My computer's still working. Let's take the vote.
Okay. Any other discussion?
So long as we have a quorum, we can continue doing business. The staff waited all this time to make this presentation. Let's let them make the presentation and conduct our business.
Okay, so any other discussion?
This is Dwight Otis. I concur. Let's
Okay.
move on.
Okay, so how many do we have?
Call the vote.
Commissioners?
Call for the question.
Okay, call for the question.
Question.
Okay, so the question is
I move that we adjourn this meeting and pick it up at the next meeting.
okay, so again, my question is we have a quorum of 5. Is that what we have as 5, or do we have 6 or 7? Because that's going to help determine our vote, or am I, again, speaking out of turn?
Order.
Okay, what?
At the moment when a person calls the question, that means you conduct the vote. So
Okay, Gina. Okay, so how many, so the vote, if there's 5 of us, 3-2 would win, right? If there's 7 of us, 4-3 would win, right? So what I'm asking for is how many we have, so I know what the vote is.
The vote will prove it, Terry. Call for the question.
Hey, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
So it's your job to have the list of names in front of you, and you call on each person for their vote. That's what you're supposed to do now.
Thank you, Dwight. I appreciate you enlightening me as to what my job is. I understand that, but all I was asking, and I don't know why that's such a difficult question, is to how many commission members do we have present now? Do we have 5? Do we have 7? We had 7 earlier. I'm told we have 5, but I don't know. I don't have a list of who's on.
Point of order. We have myself, we have Dan Haire, Gary Gubser, Harry Wise, Mr. Chair, Dwight Otis, Herb Bickle, and Gina Bua.
Okay, so there's 7 of us, right?
Correct.
Okay, so Giovanni, I'd like you, since you have that list in front of you, I appreciate that. I do not, because I'm still having some computer issues, sorry. So if you, Giovanni, could take a roll call and ask for votes, I'd appreciate the support.
Okay.
So wait a minute. Oh yeah, we're voting on your motion. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Gina Bua,
no.
Herb Bickle. It shows you there, Herb. Are you there?
He's never connected to audio, so he's not actually able to participate in this meeting.
Is
Okay.
he able to type in the chat since it shows
We
his?
don't know if it's him or a 10-year-old kid.
Oh, come on. I mean,
Can you go to the next person, please, to continue with the vote?
Dwight Otis.
Let's continue, please.
Dwight, you're up.
I said continue.
Are you gonna,
That would be a no vote.
No.
Harry?
Pardon?
Harry, your vote?
I'm gonna vote. Am I voting? If I vote no, I'm voting to continue the meeting.
Correct.
Okay, I'm voting no.
Gary Gubser?
Yes.
Yes. Dan Haire?
No, continue the meeting.
No. And I'm a yes. The noes have it 4-2. The meeting continues.
Okay, and let's let the record show that we have 6 commissioners, not 7, because we have no communication with Herb. So,
Correct.
okay, it's been moved that we will continue the meeting. Thank you. And so you're up, Tony.
All right. I'll just start from the beginning here. I didn't get too far. So for the record, I'm Tony Canthus, planner with Pierce County. This is the Mid-County Advisory Commission meeting for the Lesky project. The applicant requests preliminary plan development district and a rezone approval to subdivide 5 acres into 18 single-family residential lots and dedicate 0.16 acres to passive open space. The subject property is currently zoned residential resource, also known as RR. The RR zone requires a minimum density of 1 dwelling unit per net developable acre and a maximum of 3 dwelling units per net developable acre. The applicant proposes to rezone the property to single family through the PDD process. The SF zone requires a minimum and a maximum density of 4 dwelling units per net developable acre. The proposed density is 3.6 dwelling units per 4.45 net developable acres. This is the vicinity map where the property is located. The 5 acre parcel is south of 112th, which is right here, and is on the west side and fronts 17th Avenue East, which dead ends approximately 420 feet to the south of the subject property. The subdivision would be served by Tacoma Public Water, Pierce County Sewer System, and Tacoma Power, and the properties within the Franklin Pierce School District. Here's a preliminary plat map that's being proposed. The plat includes a new public road that will connect onto 17th Avenue East. The internal new road would include a curb, gutters, sidewalks, and street trees on both sides of the road. The internal road of the plat includes a stub out to lot 18. This is lot 18 and it stubs out here. There are 2 existing dwelling units on the property. Both residences are to be retained through the subdivision design. Proposed lot 18 is designed to be 93,642 square feet in size to maintain the existing single family residence, many outbuildings, and the established agricultural use on the property. This is the zoning map of the area. The yellow represents the residential resource zoning and the blue represents the community employment zoning. This is the land use designation map from the Mid-County Communities Plan. The yellow represents the moderate single family designation and the blue represents the employment center. The subject property has a moderate density single family designation. There are 3 different zoning districts within the moderate single family designation. The first being the residential resource zoning, which has the maximum density of 3 dwelling units per acre. Single family zoning, which has a density of 4 dwelling units per acre, and the moderate density single family zoning, which has a maximum density of 6 dwelling units per acre. The code will allow the property to be rezoned to any of these zones through the PDD application, and hearings and approval as long as it's a zone within the same land use designation. In this case, it's from RR to single family. Here's an aerial of the property and the surrounding properties. You can see 112th up here to the north and 17th Avenue East here. And it dead ends here. The surrounding land use to the north is an existing church and a mini storage. To the south is a existing single family residence on 1.88 acres. To the east is 17th Avenue East in 2 duplexes and an undeveloped property. To the west is property owned by the county that's I've been told that it's used for emergency management and I believe they store some maintenance equipment, like that's for road improvements and so forth. These are the findings that the hearing examiner will need to make to approve the preliminary plat, which are provided in the IPR report that was provided. These are the findings the hearing examiner will need to make to approve the PDD portion of the application, which was also provided in the IPR. And these are the findings that the hearing examiner will need to make to approve the rezone from residential resource to single family. The proposed application was deemed complete for review on July 9th of this year and remains in review. This is the list of all the codes that the applications are being reviewed for compliance. In response to the notice of application that was mailed to neighboring property owners, the county has received 3 comment emails to date from nearby property owners with the following concerns. The first one, the proposal will negatively impact the roads, schools, and quality of life within the vicinity. Staff provided a response in the IPR, which states Pierce County Traffic Engineering is currently in reviewing the proposal for traffic impacts. The proposal will be required to pay traffic and school impact fees to mitigate any potential impacts posed by the development. The mid-county design and landscape standards are intended to mitigate and improve the visual and functional quality of the new subdivision development. The second comment email includes the proposed rezone will alter the unique neighborhood and states that the mid-county community plan vision is to protect and foster the unique open space character and environmental sensitivity of the area. The comment also states that the community plan's vision is to protect and foster the unique rural atmosphere and conserve the natural environment and natural processes of the ecosystem. Staff's response in the IPR states that there are no designated critical areas or associated buffers on the subject property. The subdivision design includes a mixture of smaller lots and an individual larger lot to maintain the existing agriculture of the property. The third comment email states a development of this sort would pose several negative consequences to the quality of life for the current residences of 17th Avenue East in terms of increased noise, environmental impacts, and increased traffic impacts. The comment email further discusses 17th Avenue being a dead-end road and the road connectivity is difficult in the area, and the increased traffic generated by the proposed plat will bring more traffic impacts to the area. Staff's response in the IPR was, as stated, there are no critical areas on the site, and the Pierce County Traffic Engineering Departments are reviewing the proposal for traffic impacts and compliance with the Pierce County road standards. That is a quick summary of the proposal. As I stated, the project remains in review. If it's found that the proposal complies with all applicable codes, staff plans on recommending approval of the application to the hearing examiner, who's the ultimate decision maker of the application. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and the applicant's agent is also online to answer any potential questions.
Okay, can everyone hear me okay?
I can.
Okay. During your presentation, I received a phone call that, like myself, Herb Bickle was, I don't know, kicked off or coincidentally at the same time, we were deleted from the meeting. So obviously it wasn't my computer. It wasn't a problem on my end. It was, unless that's a real coincidence. Herb Bickle nor myself were able to vote on the first case. Herb's still not able to vote on this case or discuss it. And so again, I just want to go on the record to say that this concerns me. We need to look into why this is happening. The other thing is I want to remind the commissioners that although oftentimes we can disagree on issues, it is very important that we keep a respectable decorum and allow, whether you agree with Giovanni's motion or you agree with Dan's motion or Gina's motion, that they all have an opportunity to be heard, not interrupted. And if we can't follow a proper decorum, which is part of our charter, then I will adjourn this meeting immediately with and then if I get heat from that, so be it. But frankly, if those two parties hadn't been kicked off, this vote would be different. And there's something wrong with that. Anyway, enough said. I appreciate your presentation, Tony. I think that was well done. So do we have clarifying questions from the commissioners about this application?
I think
Yeah,
Dwight had his hand
I have
up.
my hand up.
Yeah.
Okay, Dwight?
Yeah, as I was reading through the presentation, there's two areas where I have a concern. One was the lot width, which is down to 40 feet, and then the setbacks. Can Tony explain why that's acceptable for this proposal?
Well, through the PDD process, you can create a design standard that differs than what's the zoning ordinance requires. And it's a tool of the PDD that it doesn't mean it's acceptable, but I mean, it allows you to propose it. And I can speak to, there are, this is an urban area, and you do see urban lots that go down to that lot width of 40 feet.
Yeah, and then as far as the 5-foot setback and vice a 10-foot setback?
Yes, on the side property line, you
Yeah.
could, that allows you, the PDD allows you to do that as well.
So that's only if we rezone it from RR, is that correct?
No, that wouldn't be the rezone. That'd be just a tool of the PDD, but another tool of the PDD is allowance of the rezone to a zone that's within the same land use designation.
Okay, I was just confused.
I'm sorry.
No, I was confused by the language that was used in the write-up. It said waiver, I believe, and so that's what I was wondering. I saw that they're applying for a rezone, and then I saw the language in there said waiver, so I can pull it up and take a look at it again.
Yeah, Dwight, different zones allow for different setbacks and things. SF currently, different community plans have different specific criteria, but typically it's the minimum 40-foot wide lot, 5-foot setbacks. Sometimes they vary from that. So I think that would be standard in the SF. I'm not sure about lot size in RR, but anyway.
Yeah, and I apologize that because it says specifically the lot size is 50 foot. And then it's going to be the minimum requirements is going to go down to 40 for all the lots. And then the setback was, again, it was 10 feet. And I thought I read on it based on SF. So I'll look at it again. So that's why I was trying to make sure that the language was kind of confusing between allowing it to go to an SF, but then it said it waivers SF setbacks and lot sizes. So
yeah, and I'm not sure, again, each community plan is different. So that's part of the problem with our code is it's literally, 6 feet thick, and you've got to go through all those specifics on each different community plan. Right now I'm working with SF and a number of community plans, not MSF. There's not that much SF in Mid-County, so I couldn't speak. I'm just generally that's oftentimes the case, but yeah, refer to the code would be a specific, Tony, correct me if I'm wrong, but the PDD allows to deviate within certain parameters as part of that PDD, and that's part of the request. Am I saying that right, Tony?
Yeah, that's correct. And then I should also add, the setbacks would be all from reducing the setback would be from all residences within the development, not the surrounding area. And then reducing the setback side property line will kick in, some fire requirements that the fire will initiate through the building permit application.
They're in all likelihood going to require sprinkler systems, correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
Yeah.
It's the project still remains in review of fire. The application's new, and it's a lot of departments other than sewer, I believe, is the only one that signed off on the application and is required, connection to sewer, which the applicant is doing.
Okay. Other questions from clarifying questions for staff?
Mr. Chairman, could I ask Tony just to use his arrow to kind of clarify where the property is? I think I know where it's at, but I want to make sure.
Dan, again, for the record, could you identify yourself?
Just, could you kind of outline it?
Yeah, this is Tony for the record. It's two parcels, a smaller one here, which consists of existing residents. And then there's a larger parcel here
Right.
that comes around like this.
Okay, Tony, are there any adjacent PDDs there?
Not that I'm aware of.
The
No.
answer is no. I've already looked into it. And the zoning there is RR, correct?
Yes.
Okay, it's kind of a joke in Pierce County that PDD stands for packed double density. When it means planned development district, obviously, but when you do a PDD, it allows an enhanced density that you're seeing here. Whereas if they were just to do the zone, build towards the zone that's there now, it would be a lesser density. It would be in keeping with some of these environmental issues that you had mentioned in your staff report earlier about, the environment generally. I'm going to be speaking against this PDD. It's zoned residential reserve. They can just develop it according to that. They want a 0.16.
Dan, point of order. Right now at this point, and you have the opportunity down the road, right now it's clarifying questions for staff. When you want to express your opinions on it, I would just ask that we reserve that for the proper time, which is when we're discussing the merits of the case, not clarifying questions of staff.
I agree with that. I do have a question. Who is the developer in this particular case?
The agent is Chuck Sunsmo, and he's
Correct. I'm curious, Chuck, he's well known in the area. Are there any members of the board who have had business dealings with Mr. Sunsmo?
Is this a clarifying question for staff?
Conflict of interest, point of order.
Yeah.
So the question is, well, again, I'm going to point of order. This is not, I think you can ask that question at a certain point in time, Dan. I don't think this is a clarifying question for staff. We're really looking at fact finding, getting that we're clear of what the application is. I would just ask that you can ask this question. They can answer it however they so choose, but I would suggest.
I'm asking the commissioners, do any of the commissioners have a business relationship with Mr. Sunsmo?
A current, again, be specific. And then now I want a specific question. I know Chuck Sunsmo. Okay. I don't know that I've ever done a transaction with Chuck Sunsmo. I can tell you I see no conflict of interest. Anybody else? Anyway, anybody else want to speak to that?
I do not know Chuck. This is Dwight Otis.
Hey, do we want to have all of us speak up, whether we know Chuck and how we feel about all that? Or I don't understand the merit here. I think this is, again, I think we're not keeping a proper decorum here. I'm about ready to join
No,
the meeting.
this is
appropriate.
totally improper. Point of order. This is totally improper. We don't discuss relationships with applicants or things like that in these meetings. Yeah, wow.
Well,
point of
no,
order.
actually.
We
the
were
person
told during
has to
the.
recuse themselves from the vote if they
Pardon?
have a.
Yes, I agree, Gina. There is a proper decorum. If there's a conflict of interest, okay, then a commissioner should disclose that conflict and recuse himself, and the commissioners get to vote on whether they get either a vote or they want him to leave the room, okay? But I have never had people, try to dig out what that relationship is, and for you guys decide if there is a conflict of interest and a commissioner has a relationship, not that they know somebody, but typically the conflict of interest is restricted to something to do with that particular project. Okay. And so there's no conflict of interest if your neighbor comes in and has a project, you still get to have an opinion, Gina, whether you like that project or not. That's not a conflict of interest because there's somebody you play bridge with on Friday night or go for a walk with, or happens to be a neighbor, or would that be a conflict of interest? Is that the standard that we're setting? If it is, let's discuss that.
Mr. Chair, can we just move past this and go to questions to staff, other questions in the audience? And
yeah, I'm trying to be respectful of Gina and Dan's request and respond to it. But again, unless somebody, one of the commissioners feels that they have a relationship with the applicant that would restrict their ability to serve without a conflict of interest in that, then by all means, they should bring that forth. And just out of fairness, I will ask, does anybody feel like they have a conflict of interest because of their relationship with Chuck Sunsmo?
Mr. Chair.
I hear none. Yes, Gina?
Okay. I would like to speak since you've had several minutes. Dan was obviously asking to determine if there was a conflict of interest within our board, but maybe that should have been saved for recording portion where we actually discuss the question. Somebody you're unmuted. Anyway, possibly the reason that he stated that, and this is what I would like clarification on. You said the words, I've been working on this in talking about the residential resource land versus being rezoned to single family.
Who is you? Who are you referring to when you say you?
I'm speaking to you, Mr. Chair.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
You made a statement in all this stuff as trying to explain how you can take residential resource land and we can make it this, that, or the other and have a 5-foot setback or a 10-foot setback or whatever. But when you said that we've been working on that, it sounds like you are working with a bunch of people to rezone property within here. And that's probably what he wanted clarification about.
Okay, that's a fair question. So Gina, what I do for a living is I'm a real estate broker. Okay, and I'm a land use consultant. So I deal with landowners trying to protect their interests from developers and making sure they do things right. And I also protect landowners that are trying to develop their property. So when I say we have been working on, I have a staff, people that work on that, a number of clients and things that I work with on a regular basis. And Chuck Sunsmo is not one of those. Okay, if he was one of those, or specifically on this project, then it would be a conflict of interest.
Yeah, Mr.
Does
Chair,
that help your question?
the reason why I raised the question is initially when we were educated about how to conduct ourselves at LUACs, one of the issues we had to watch out for was conflict of interest.
Yes.
And it occurred to me to ask the question. I think maybe I shouldn't have asked it, but I asked it, it's been answered. Let's move on.
Yeah, again, I think it's a fair question, Dan. My only comment is that at this point, we're trying to ask clarifying questions of staff about the project. I think if you're concerned about a conflict of interest, I'm just thinking that if we could shelve that to our discussion with the commissioners, that would have been more appropriate. We end up bouncing back and forth. So, okay, I guess we are clear on the question that about the conflict of interest. So, any more clarifying questions for Tony? Okay, none being said, then we want to give the applicant the opportunity to make a presentation or state their case or whatever. So Tony, I'll have you ask the applicant if they're willing to talk to us.
I'm not sure if Mr. Sunsmo has anything more to add. It's already been presented. I think unless there's any questions that I'm not.
He's not raising his hand. I don't see a hand up.
So.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
So
he isn't required to give any sort of presentation.
Yep, just wanted to give him the opportunity if he so chose. So, okay.
Can I just make a quick statement, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind?
Please.
I know I've only served on this LUAC. I think this may be my third year or so, but we've seen similar things like this. I think many of us know what's going on with housing prices, what's going on with lumber, there not being enough housing. If something fits in the code, the folks at Pierce County Planning and Public Works, I mean, they're scrupulous with going over everything. And if something meets the code, then it shouldn't be this body's job to say no, especially when we do not have enough housing and we literally have people out on the streets because the price of housing's gone up so much. And so, I mean, when there's operators throughout the community that are putting together things like this in communities, I mean, I'm all for that. So sorry if I was rambling.
No, thanks. Thank you, Giovanni. Okay, so now we've the applicant, well, we haven't heard from the applicant. Now it would be if there's anything from anyone from the public that wants to make a comment. Do we have any hands up? You see anyone, Tony? Oh, hello.
Terry, this is Chuck Sunsmo.
Hi, Chuck.
Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Yeah, I've been sitting through quite a show here. I don't think I've ever been to one like this before.
Yeah, it's been a long time for me, if ever.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that Pierce County, along with the rest of the country, is suffering from a housing shortage. And what we're doing with there's no, as stated in the staff report, there's no critical areas on this property. There's no open space corridor on this property. We're adding a total of 3 additional units. We're asking for reduced setbacks and bulk regulation adjustments so that we can make more affordable lots, smaller lots. The problem that we have in Pierce County is attainable housing. There's lots of big mansions, that are available for, people to buy, but there aren't a lot of smaller homes for people, entry-level type homes to get into. The area that we're developing is a mixed use area. There's everything from duplexes to churches to county buildings. There's schools, it's on the bus line. So it's just a really perfect place. There's restaurants, perfect place for this type of residential development. We're leaving a considerable amount of open space, and that's an incentive also for our plan. So we're trying to create really attainable housing here. And we think it's a desirable spot to do that. We're only adding 3 additional units over and above what the RR zone would be. The property should have never been zoned RR in the first place, in my opinion, because there are no critical areas on it, and it's not in the open space corridor. So maybe it was zoned RR, erroneously. Anyway, I just hope that the LUAC understands that there is a problem with attainable housing. We're only adding 3 more units. We're providing some additional open space And we shouldn't be impacting the road other than, 3 more additional units, which is not considerable. So I hope that you give us a due pass recommendation to the hearing examiner. Is there
Thank
any
you, Chuck.
questions?
Any questions of the applicant? Okay, seeing none, is there any other public comment?
Excuse me, I was muted. I do have a question.
Okay,
If it is not a PDD, would you still go ahead with the RR development?
Are you addressing that? Are you addressing me? If it wasn't a PDD,
Correct.
we're asking, well, a PDD is just part of the rezone. We're asking for a rezone so we can get 3 additional units so that we can achieve more attainable housing. Because like I said, there's a crisis here and there's just not enough buildable land. Dan, you should know more than anybody. You've taken a big swath right out of or contributed to take a big swath right out of the center of the county and left that in, rural area. Surrounded by municipalities and also pretty high zoning use. So I think wherever we can, we're trying to get as many reasonable single family units as we can to provide for the housing crisis that Pierce County and the rest of the country is faced with.
My question was this, would you be willing to develop it at RR with the 3 fewer lots?
What would be the purpose for that?
No, I'm just asking you, would you do that if that was the result?
Well, I wouldn't, because it's not an effective use of the space of the property. It's wasteful, actually.
So, I'm sorry, this is Dwight Otis. Why is it wasteful for 3 less houses? I don't understand that.
Well, it's wasteful in that we're inside the urban growth boundary and within Pierce County. When transit is available and services are available, schools are available, that type of thing, that's where growth management says growth should occur. So that's what we're doing there, is we're providing for housing in an area where the state actually wants it to be and the county wants it to be. So that's what we're trying to do. We're also trying to make a better use of the land by developing as many attainable housing as possible.
What do you anticipate the cost per unit or the sales price per unit to be?
Are you referring to the finished product itself?
Yes.
I would imagine it would be below what the South Hill market is.
It's not comparable to the South Hill market.
That's what I'm saying. So what we're trying to do is, like I said, we're to provide properties within the urban growth area that have transit and housing opportunities at an affordable.
I appreciate that, but I know that you've figured out a number as the potential price per unit in order to determine whether it's more, whether it's going to be profitable and worth developing. So I'm just asking you to share that number. That's all. I know you've done that analysis.
Gina, in this, well, hold on a minute. Let me answer her question because it's a pertinent one. Gina, in this particular case, I really haven't, because I was hired as a land use consultant in this case, and my business partners, one of my business partners or business associates, father owns the property, and he was the one who asked that that I help him with that property. And when I took a look at the property and assessed it and did my feasibility study, I suggested that he increase the zoning by 3 dwelling units because there's no impact to any wetlands or critical areas, and it's not within the open space corridor. It's also adjacent to, like I said, schools, shopping, and bus. So it'd be a great place for attainable housing. So I suggested that we do a PDD that goes along with the rezone, actually a rezone that goes along with PDD to achieve that 3 lot extra density. That's all. So I didn't do an in-depth market analysis of what the housing costs would bring. All I was tasked to do was a plat.
Okay, and the reason I asked is we're speaking about attainable housing and a housing crisis. And I'm just trying to flesh out what is the dollar threshold of what's attainable. I mean, I do support attainable housing. I support upzoning a bunch of stuff that is at a greater density than that, but not in certain areas. So I'm trying to find solutions to get people in homes, but some of those might be 0 lot lines and all those other kinds of things, so long as it's adjacent to good transportation. But this is why I'm asking. And that's just, it's not to say you can't forecast a price a year, 2 years down the road. I understand that. But I'm curious what the industry thinks attainable housing is versus what people who make, the salaries that they make in Pierce County find to be attainable.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question of Tony.
Can I hang on just a sec, Dan, if I may? I'll try to speak to that question if you're interested, Gina. Okay. So different developers, different builders, different jurisdictions, they will establish that either by the average income of of a Pierce County residents, as opposed to the average price range of a house, how those correlate to one another, or the median income and median price of the house. Different jurisdictions, different parties use a little different analysis to come up with that. So, again, attainable housing, affordable housing, what's affordable to you may or may not be affordable to someone else. So I don't know if that helps clarify your question, but anyway, there's my thoughts. Dan, go ahead.
I have a question of Tony, and then I would like to make a statement and then make a motion, if I may.
Okay.
The question is, Tony, currently how many houses are allowed on the property?
Well, the density is currently as proposed, 3.6 dwelling units per acre.
How many total houses are proposed on the property now? How many total proposed?
So 18 lots, 2 existing, so 16 lots.
16 total?
16 additional houses, 2 existing.
Okay,
18.
so there'll be 18 on the property.
Yes.
Okay, and the alternative to the proposal would be 3 less than that, which would be 15 instead of 18. And I think that's a yes answer.
Yes.
Okay. My concern is this, and I'll be making a motion. I support urban housing in appropriate areas. This is an urban area. These houses are going to be stacked into each other real tight. You won't be able to run from roof to roof like you can in some areas, but it will be close. The problem with going with the PDD is that it gets rid of the setbacks. It gets rid of the open space. There's a proposal on this PDD of a 0.16 open space, which is not even enough to park your tent on, hardly. I would recommend, here's my motion, that we deny.
Dan, we're not calling for a motion yet. I think everybody gets the opportunity to have our
questions
comments
of staff.
Well, I think we asked clarifying questions of the staff. We asked the applicant if he wanted to speak, which he did. We asked for public comment, which we had. And now we're at the discussion point with the commissioners. We haven't called for a motion yet. So I would ask that before we call for a motion, we have the opportunity to let speakers speak. Go ahead. Bill.
Well, Dan had mentioned open space, and the code doesn't require any open space unless the subdivision is 30 lots or more. And then open space is triggered. So that's all I had to say.
Well, I'm talking about setbacks in yard areas and off-street parking. Those 3 extra lots are going to get rid of the size of the lots, the ability to have on-site parking. You'll have people parking out in the streets and everything associated with that. I've seen it We've all seen it. Those 3 extra lots are taking up space that could be used for setbacks, vegetation, driveways on the property to park cars, instead of having everybody park out in the street, and it turns it into kind of a, some people call it ghettoization of a community. But I think people should be able to park at least 1 or 2 cars on their property, and also have enough room to walk outside and mow the lawn, whichever size that would be. 3 extra lots gets rid of that. And that's the whole point of the PDD.
Hey, Dan, I gotta disagree with you. There's four parking spaces per
Point of
lot
order.
designed for this.
Discussion comes after a motion. We are actually at the point where a motion is appropriate, and then we discuss.
Excuse me. We have not asked for a motion yet, Gina. Okay, we have not asked. I have not. This is the comment section. Okay, so Regina, are you suggesting the applicant can't have any input here? Just asking.
The applicant already said their piece, and the thing is that according to Robert's rules, discussion is something that takes place after a motion is made. So you're telling Dan that a motion is not in order at this time is actually incorrect. Anybody can make a motion at any time.
Okay, Dan, go ahead and make your motion then. I tell you,
I still have questions that I want to get answered here before we move forward.
Well, if I make a motion, you can ask the questions.
No, we have to vote on the motion before my questions are answered, and I know, can I make my decision?
I'll yield. Go ahead.
If you have a PPD, that does not get rid of the setbacks, right, Tony? The setbacks still exist on the development and on the houses.
That's true.
Diminished.
Okay, and we're still looking at, the applicant has already said that we're still looking at cars and driveways, right, Tony?
Yeah, I mean, you see that in all urban subdivisions.
Okay.
Okay, let me ask you
clear on those things.
Let me ask a question of the commission. Do you see our role here tonight as trying to determine what we want as individuals? Dan, you keep saying this is what I think we should have and what I want, what I want. Or are we here to try to represent our community as a whole, being the mid-county community?
Precisely.
And so are we here to look for what's best for the community? And Chuck, like it or not, is a member of our community. The developers, the builders are members of our community as well. It seems to me the best way that we can serve our community I understand that, Dan, you and I, when it comes to develop and personal property rights and all that, we don't always agree. Up until the decorum we've had tonight, we've always had a very respectful discussion. I'm not sure why things are getting derailed tonight, where it's much more contentious than it should be. You can hold on a minute, Gina. Okay, I see you. I will get to you. Okay, but Dan, all I'm saying is that for us to look at this correctly, because again, being where I sit from a land use consultant, there are oftentimes a couple of projects I'm familiar with now, not this one, Gina, because I'm not associated with it, but that difference between 18 lots and 15 lots, oftentimes, because of the developmental regulations and all these stormwater things we have to go through, that basically it's not affordable to build 15 lots, that you need those other 3 lots to be able to have any sort of a margin. So oftentimes when we restrict it to 15 lots, we're not creating better lots and better setbacks. We're losing 15 houses or 18 houses that desperately Pierce County residents need or have to pay so much money for because there's such a low supply that prices are going through the roof. We need to, it's a cornerstone of platform with Pierce County Executive and the council, is that we need to provide affordable housing. It's important, and I'm not asking you whether you approve or disapprove of this particular plat, but what it's important for us to understand in our roles is that are we expecting developers to go out and develop these plats at a loss, go bankrupt, take one for the team, so that we can have large setbacks, all those things. There are sometimes we need to realize that those economic factors are a part of it. And it's because of that economic factor that we now have a housing crisis.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move approval of the preliminary plat plan development district, Lesky.
Say what now?
I move approval for preliminary
Point
plat.
of order. I have a
Okay.
motion.
Hey, on the same, hang on, Giovanni, because I allowed you to talk. Gina's been asking to talk, so I want to make sure that we allow Gina an opportunity to say something. Gina?
Well, actually, Mr. Chair, it is unfortunately your duty to follow the agenda. Dan said he wanted to make a motion. Before Giovanni can make a motion, you need to recognize Dan as a member of this organization. And long monologues from the chair are not the product of efficient meetings. You should stick to the agenda, move item by item. We can make motions, we can move on. We would have been out of here an hour and a half ago.
Gina,
So,
do you think, Gina, that's it. Turn off your mute. Don't listen. That's disrespectful. I'm to the point where I don't think there's a proper decorum in this meeting, and I'm about ready to call an adjournment. Is that within my rights, Tony? Because this meeting has gotten so contentious that I'm getting people that are turning it on, shutting it off, and they're not letting other people talk. They're taking personal attacks on other commissioners. I have never had this poor of a decorum. Tony, am I within my rights to cancel this meeting now until we can have someone look at this decorum? Or can I get some sort of decorum in this meeting without personal attacks? Me telling me how I'm supposed to run this meeting. Again, my role as I see it, and you can see it differently, Gina, and you can tell me how to do my job, but my job as I see it, because of my expertise in land use, and this is called a Land Use Advisory Commission, it seems like having land use experience is helpful to this process, unless you don't want to learn or don't want to understand. You just want your agenda put forth, and that's your problem.
Mr. Chair, may I please have the floor? Mr. Chair, may I please have?
Well, let me ask Tony. I asked Tony, do I have the authority to cancel this meeting? Because we are basically, this is not the proper decorum for a LUAC.
But I don't know. I mean, I've never seen a meeting like this. And I mean, you're the chair. I mean, you're running the meeting. So
may I take the floor, Mr. Chair?
By Robert's rules, the answer is no. And
okay, thank you, Gina.
I don't
Giovanni?
Talking for forever.
Mr. Chair, thank you for recognition, Mr. Chair. I move approval of preliminary plat plan development district.
Point of order.
Lesky.
Point of order. You're behind my motion, if you don't mind.
You never made the motion. I made a motion and I was recognized.
I am making the motion.
You never made the motion. I just made a motion.
Because you won't let.
It's on the table and I was recognized.
Tony, this meeting is adjourned.
Whoever, no, that's not legal. It's
okay. Well, then somebody can reprimand me, tell me where I am wrong. But I tell you what, this is absolutely pointless to carry on. I've tried. Tony, I don't know if I'm in my authority or not, but as far as I'm concerned, this has got to a place that I don't want to be a part of it. Don't need to be a part of it. There's not an honest discussion, and so this meeting is adjourned.
I move the meeting be adjourned.
Second.
You can't. And we're three.
You have to call a vote.
Okay. Herb Bickle votes that the meeting's adjourned.
He's not here.
He sent me on the
meeting's
phone.
adjourned.
He's not here.
No.
I vote yes that the meeting's adjourned.
I vote no. Dwight Otis votes no.
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 Okay.
Now,
well, again.
Okay.
I am gonna take.
Can I have a point?
You can get me kicked off the commit, whatever you want at this point. But what I'm telling you is this is not the proper decorum. I believe I have the right, with the kind of contentiousness that's gone on, the personal attack.
You're the one that made it.
the personal attacks that have been made, that this is not productive, that you can call it again, come, whatever it needs to be. But Tony,
Would you
is
listen to
this
a point of
meeting,
order?
is this meeting a proper decorum?
I've never seen a meeting like this. But
Is
is there any way we could just do
We could just take a vote.
take a vote and then we
Let him
don't
have his motion. Let him have his motion.
Go ahead and let
Take it.
Giovanni do it.
Do
and
it.
We'll vote on that.
Okay, so how many do we have present? So if two leave, we no longer have a quorum, do we?
did Giovanni text you that just now?
No, well, I don't know. I haven't not looking at my phone, but what I'm telling you is.
Your phone
if-
is going off right now.
Oh,
So
well,
can
yeah,
you read it? Can you read the text?
Who's this talking?
This
I
is
make
Dwight
a
Otis.
motion.
This
I
is
make a
Dwight Otis.
motion.
Can you answer the question? Did Giovanni just text Terry with a note? Did you just text him?
No, I did not.
I don't know because I'm not looking at my phone. I'm in a
Your
meeting.
phone,
looking at
your
the
phone is
agenda
right there.
here.
Your phone is
Oh my
right there.
gosh.
Violation.
Tony, I'm out. Okay, I'm out, folks. You do what you want to do. I'm out. The chairman is out. I'm adjourning this meeting. If you guys want to carry it on without me, knock yourselves out.
I think you're the
I'm out.
chair. I think you can make that call. I think we aren't going anywhere. I
Yep.
mean, on this.
We're
Okay,
not
so
going
this
anywhere 'cause-
this meeting is adjourned.
We
Thank you,
could
Tony,
have a-
for your patience. I'm sorry, folks. I think if we can learn to have a better decorum, maybe we can finish these meetings when we disagree. Thank you. Have a nice night. Appreciate it.
Giovanni and
So now you don't have the quorum.
Did Giovanni leave too?
I think there's just 4 of us still on here.
Okay.
That's two. Sorry, Chuck.
We'll talk later. Good night.
Well, I can't say it wasn't entertaining.
Wow.
Jeez.
Well, I'm going to stop the recording and yeah, it was